For his fans, Durga Puja means a new Srijit Mukherji film. Last year was an exception. This year, Srijit is back with Dawshom Awbotaar. Srijit, welcome to The Print. Salman Khan has an Eid release. Shah Rukh has a Diwali release. Srijit Mukherji has a Durga Puja release. What does, I understand the economics of it. It's holiday season, thereby more footfall. But beyond that, what does Durga Puja mean for you?
Durga Puja for me is a celebration at various levels. It's a celebration of essentially the cultural fabric of Bengal, wherein people who work all year round, who are, who sometimes don't even have the time to catch up with friends. This is the time when everyone comes together, friends, relatives, people outside Bengal. For me, even before the film thing came in, I turned filmmaker in 2010, but even before that, it was always a symbol of coming together of friends and families and relatives and a general air of celebration. Now, in that potpourri of celebration, I kind of infused films from 2010, and then obviously it exploded, it escalated, because then coupled with the general celebration was also celebration of cinema. Yes. And that also included promotions and meeting with people, doing hall visits and all that.
Right. We'll come to Dawshom Awbotaar in a bit. But tell me this, your films, Durga Puja at one level is a celebration of good over evil. It's a straight up black and white narrative. Your films, though, are not black and white. Your heroes are not all white. Your villains are not all black. So how do you come to terms with that? I mean, does grey attract you as a color and as a thought?
Massively. I think grey is the color of life. Grey is the dominant color of all of us. I don't think white really exists in this world anymore. And especially in the day and age of social media, you take big icons, be it from the field of politics or sports. Or, in fact, whenever someone dies, that's a very big indication. The moment someone dies, you have obituaries, you have a lot of good things being said, and there is always a couple of dissenting voices that he was not that great a man. What does that mean? That means that everyone is grey. The shade differs. You might be steel grey, you might be light grey, but grey is the dominant color, and that reflects in my film. So, starting with Arun Chatterjee in Autograph, Shubhabruto Mitra in Autograph, to Probir Raychaudhuri in Baisha, absolutely, if you come down to Dawshom Awbotaar, Jishu's character, obviously Probir's character also gets a call back in Dawshom because it's a double prequel of Baisha and Vinchida. Most fascinating characters have been grey in my film. And it's also a matter of perspective. Even in Durga Puja, you're saying it's black and white. There are lots of communities which celebrate Mohishashur. So their Mohishashur also becomes grey. So it's a matter of perspective.
It takes a Bengali filmmaker to point that out. Dawshom Awbotaar, it has a blockbuster cast. It has Prosenjit Chatterjee, who's now sort of celebrated across India because he's doing these fantastic OTT releases. There is Jishu Sengupta, there is Anirban Bhattacharya, there is Jaya Ahsan from Bangladesh. Did it sort of take a lot of thinking to bring all of these huge film personalities together? Did the film demand it, or is it just a did you take this decision from a commercial standpoint?
No, the film absolutely demanded it, because as I was saying that it's a double prequel of Baisha Shravan and Venchida. So I decided to create the first cop universe in Bengali films by taking an iconic cop like Probir Raychaudhuri from Baisha Shravan and an iconic cop like B.C.T.D. Poddar from Venchida, putting them together, turning the clock back by some years, because in Baisha, Probir kills himself at the end. So I had to make a prequel to bring him back. So it's a prequel for both Probir as well as Poddar. And Probir Poddar becomes like it's a pair. It's a cop pair. I wouldn't say good cop, bad cop. I would say dark grey cop and light grey cop. And for that, obviously the casting was necessary. So I had to get Bumbada, that's Prosenjit and Onivan together. For the role of the serial killer, obviously I needed someone charismatic and someone whose acting chops I trust,
which is Jishu.
And we have collaborated on a number of projects, and the last being the very, very notable and critically acclaimed national award winning act Jisilo Raja. So Jishu was an obvious choice. Joya, again, I thought, Joya is a person, if you look at critical and commercial balance, she's been outstanding in the last few years. I have a great working relationship with her. So Joya was an obvious choice for the other character. Now, coming back to the concept of bringing big names together, I'm not new to that. I've always done that. And the secret to that, Zulfikar was the biggest star cast ever assembled in Bengal.
Yeah.
But the secret to that is not commercial considerations. The secret to that is, the reason for that is rather not the secret. The secret is a balanced script where every actor feels that, okay, I'm secure. I have something to do. The reason for that is I love to see actors play off each other.
Yeah.
And whenever an actor has a big actor in front of that person, he kind of gives his best because he knows otherwise he'll be overshadowed. Now that potentially extracts the best out of all of them, and the entire creative level of that endeavor that gets escalated. So that is the reason.
Let's come to your film heroes. When you write male characters, from say Arun Chatterjee to Prabir Rai Chaudhary, Arnab Kaur, yeah, all of these characters, you tone up their masculinity. Okay. You, of course, like I said, your films are not black and white. There are many shades of grey, and you sort of said why grey is so important. But also, when you write heroes, quote unquote heroes for your films, you tone up their manliness, right? Is that a conscious choice? Do you see sort of male characters as overtly manly, as sort of somebody who are as people who are aggressive? And I have a corollary to this. We were discussing this a while back. Bollywood, commercial Bollywood sees Bengali men a certain way, almost as an antithesis to the North Indian man. If you see Rocky and Rani, for instance, the Bengali man, he's cultured but effeminate. Your film heroes are very opposite to that. What do you have to say? How do you see the Bengali man?
So, I would not like to generalize or stereotype the Bengali man.
Okay.
My films definitely have alpha males,
right,
as you correctly pointed out. But they also have a metrosexual man often to contrast them.
Yeah.
So for every Prabir Rai Chaudhary, you have an Abhijit Pakrashi.
Yes.
Abhijit Pakrashi is not effeminate, but he's a softer, a more, how should I put it?
More relatable cop.
More relatable cop.
Yeah.
Prabir Rai Chaudhary, on the other hand, is, as you said, the hyper-masculine alpha male. In Dawshom Awbotaar, I take that contrast slightly ahead. So I have Poddar, who is slightly more masculine than Abhijit Pakrashi. Hence, their playing against each other becomes even more interesting.
Right.
So if you look at Ditiyo Purush, let's say Gaurav's character, he is again again not effeminate, but definitely the more intellectual, the softer, the more relatable, accessible cop. That is again another type of Bengali man that I've seen around me. So what I portray basically is a reflection of the kind of Bengali man I see around me. It is very true that sometimes they do get stereotyped in Hindi films. In fact, not only in Hindi films, even in history, they have been often branded as the babus.
Yeah.
The babus who are cultured, but they are cowards and they get easily scared, and they are not very physical. They are not physically very dominant or overpowering, that kind of thing. That which is very strange because we were looking at that cellular jail plaque, and I think 75% of freedom fighters come from Bengal, and Bengal was known as the land of the rebellion of the
armed rebellion. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange stereotyping that happened.
Yeah.
But my films have actively worked against that stereotype and actively broken that.
Okay. let me stay on this a while more and to push you a little bit. You are not just a commercially successful filmmaker, Srijit. You are also a cultural icon of Bengal. So when you write characters like this, like say a Probir Roy Chaudhary, are you conscious of the fact that in a world where people are constantly being critiqued, where everything is being dissected, where do you draw the line between masculinity and toxic masculinity? Are you, I mean, the fact that somebody may look at these characters and want to emulate them, and that may not go down well with a certain section of the audience. Are you conscious of this?
I am conscious of this, but then again, I also, as a writer, submit to my universe. I think that is very, very necessary. A very interesting case in point would be that of Kabir Singh.
Right.
So there was this huge controversy of Kabir Singh. Now the point is, various filmmakers have a lot to say. Anurag had something to say, and see, my point is very simple. That, of course, glorification is the problem. Depiction isn't.
Okay.
My point is that in a universe, there will be men like Kabir Singh.
Right.
Now, if you're saying that art is a reflection of life, you cannot show a universe which is ideal, where everyone is perfect, utopian, and there are no toxic masculinity ridden problems. And so in my universe as well, there are imperfect people. There are imperfect people, there are toxic people, but there are also good people. Now, if the question of emulation comes, I would say then why aren't we emulating the good ones?
Yeah.
Is it because that when they are coming up with their lines, there aren't any CTs or any clapping or any hooting happening? So are they underrated or undermined or underplayed, which is why they are not kind of appealing to the popular imagination? If that is the case, then I would say something is wrong with your sense of good and bad.
If you're so easily influenced by that.
So I am, as a storyteller, giving you a world which has good people, bad people, ugly people, perfect people, imperfect people. Of course, some of them are protagonists, and most of my films don't have a single protagonist. They have a dual or a three-way kind of a protagonist, or a four-way in case of Dawshom Awbotaar. So you pick and choose.
Right.
You pick and choose your idols. And also another important thing is that by that logic, I mean, Baishe Shravan, I mean, even if you sympathize for Bumbadar, it doesn't mean I'm condoning serial killing.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can't make films about serial killers as protagonists. Or you can't make films about gangsters as protagonists.
Right.
And what is Godfather then?
Yeah.
So you're glorifying
gangsters, mobsters.
Mobsters. So I think that kind of moral compass should be an individual thing rather than depending 100% on the narrative or the depiction in the narrative.
Right. Do you find the new audience a problem, sort of to navigate with? Do you sort of, this constant yardstick of political correctness that you are sort of pitted against?
See, again, frankly, it's not an ex-ante problem, it's an ex-post problem, because when you're creating, you don't have that in mind. You cannot think of political correctness or what the audience will want or how it will receive when you're writing something.
Right.
When you're writing something, it's organic, it's spontaneous, and you're writing it and you're creating it, you're making the film. After that, the S&P department of the producer and this and that, they come and say that you can't keep this. This might offend this people, this might affect this people, these people, and this might affect this person. So all this comes later. So as a creator, no, it doesn't bother you. But I'm not the distributor of my own films, but my producers, they suffer a lot. Yeah. And which is why I'll tell you, every producer now has a huge legal team.
Right.
And they scan your narrative like going by every single small minute detail in order to make sure that in this changed scenario, in this new world, that it is as sanitized as possible.
let's zoom out from your movies and look at the Bengali film industry as a whole. There's talent like you, there's Kaushik Ganguly, and there are hugely successful commercial stars like Dev and Jeet. Why is Bengali cinema restricted to Bengal? Why isn't Bengali cinema, to use a sort of old word, crossing over? I mean, I understand sort of KGF. You may not have Bengali film industry at the moment may not have, say, a budget to make a KGF, but why not say a Kantara?
Kantara. See, my reading of that scenario is very simple. I think I looked at most of the films which did a good, kind of a crossover. Most of them are very massy. I would say even Kantara, though it has a very, very indigenous coat to it, there are a lot of things which are very on the face. Even, I was reading a few critiques of Kantara, toxic masculinity and the way the women
have been portrayed and jokes.
So I think this philosophy or this approach is not very Bengali. It doesn't sit very well with Bengal.
Okay.
And the massy, there have been great massy makers in Bengal, like Raj Chakraborty as well. So, but overall, the general message of films or the general approach or philosophy of films, I don't think it lends itself very well to a pan-India crossover. If you look at the films which have made a successful crossover. Now, that doesn't stop Bengal from making great films. It still does. You still have a Dostoji. You still have a Nagar Kirtan. But I genuinely feel that that massy approach, which is actually succeeding, is something which Bengal generally is not very comfortable with.
Okay.
I mean, for example, I definitely am not very comfortable with it because my concept of massy is still tempered with rationale and, with sensitivity or very intense respect for the laws of physics and everything. So that kind of approach of filmmaking. Same with Kaushik. But I think Dev and Jeet as superstars, they're really trying a lot. And I think they will definitely succeed one day. They've started it.
Jeet did a film.
Jeet did a film called Chengiz. Dev, whose upcoming release is Bagajotin. He's very intelligently mixed a subject which is technically not massy because it's about history, it's about freedom fighters, and it's about the freedom struggle. But he's kind of infused it with all the tropes, all the storytelling techniques of a full-on massy commercial film. When he's hitting a soldier, the soldier's flying, and falling somewhere, like the typical larger-than-life, over-the-top kind of action sequence. So he's taking a so-called intellectual theme of the biopic of Bagajotin and combining it with the massy techniques. So this is very interesting. And I think this, again, so if there has to be a crossover, this crossover has to be through these subjects, which lends itself very well to this kind of a treatment. The kind of films I am making, even if they are populist, like Dawshom Awbotaar, here the policemen are Kolkata police. They have biryani and then they go and catch the victim, and they don't have six pack. They have a slight paunch, and it's a very realistic zone. Of course, there are chases. Of course, there are high speed shots and treatment. But at the end of the day, they're very flesh and blood police.
There is Chorki in Bangladesh and there's Hoichoi in Kolkata. And talking about crossovers,
there's Hoichoi in Bangladesh as well.
Hoichoi in Bangladesh as well. Talking about crossovers, I found a lot of interest for Hoichoi in Bangladesh. Like there is a lot of interest for Chorki in in Kolkata and Bengal. Two very successful OTT platforms. You're also a filmmaker who's dabbling in OTT. My question to you is, will OTT kill Bengali cinema?
No, I don't think so. If at all, I think OTT will push the histrionic talent, which to a large extent, could not find an expression, thanks to the supply side bottleneck of films, will now find that expression in a lot of OTT series and something which is actually helping films. So we have a lot of acting talent which we are spotting in OTT zone, and we are drafting them directly into films, and hence we are getting enriched. So a lot of people from theatre are getting work in OTT. A lot of people from OTT are getting work in films. So I think intrinsically
it's expanded the universe.
Yes, and the ecosystem is actually it's doing wonders. Also for storytellers.
Right.
Even for me, there are lots of stories which I can't narrate on the big screen. For me, OTT is the go-to. So I read a novel which deals with a woman who's a cannibal. I had to do it on OTT. It was the scope, the violence in the film, the inherent violence in the film, everything made it not too screen friendly, big screen friendly. So I had to resort to OTT. And again, another big example is Feluda. Srijit Ray's Feluda.
Yeah.
So
which you have done for OTT.
Yes, I did not get the rights because the rights for the big screen adaptations, I don't have them. They lie with the Ray family.
Yeah.
So, but then doing Feluda was my childhood dream because he's my childhood icon. Yeah. So OTT made it possible. Yeah. So I will always. I'm doing my first Bomkesh for OTT, Bomkesh Bakshi.
Yeah.
So OTT has been the go-to place for the dreams of a lot of filmmakers, including me. So I think it will absolutely mutually coexist with cinema.
Okay. Srijit, thank you for the interview and all the best for Dawshom Awbotaar.
Thank you. Thank you so much.